me at the beginning of the service, Larry mentioned about the denominational issues and discussing those things and trying to do it in a way that I wasn't dictating the decision. It just so happened this morning when I got up, I read a little book out of I read a little bit out of a book called London. And I had read a book by this author called Sarah that I loved. And these are about 1,500-page historical novels. And it's the story of London from beginning to end. This morning, the Church of England pastor, when the people walked in, suddenly started doing the order of worship of the Presbyterian Church. And if people couldn't figure out what was going on, well, he had decided on his own that they were now going to be Presbyterians. So anyways, I will be speaking in Latin. We won't have any changes like that this morning. I do, Larry, welcome Carolyn and Tommy, and that's the order it should be in Carolyn and Tommy. Herman. You may not know the full extent of the relationship between Tommy and me. When I was in my first 3-point appointment out in Charlotte County, Tommy was district superintendent over in the Portsmouth district in Tidewater. And it's somewhere in my second, third year. Now, I'm in a place that has the second lowest population in Virginia. It's buried down in South Side. And I think that nobody outside of that little community knows me. They've all forgotten me. And I get a call one day from Tommy Herndon, who I really did not know. And he introduced himself, and he was in charge of a laity retreat at Blackstone. And he asked if I would be the speaker for 3 sessions. Now, I was pretty new to preaching, and I had no idea why he was asking me. I guess somebody had told them they had heard me one time, and the person had poor judgment when it came to preaching. And so he said, well, either that or he just went through the clergy directory and closed his eyes. But he asked me to do it, and I said, sure. And I was excited, I was honored. This was a big thing back then. These lady retreats could have a few hundred people come to them, and so I was excited about it. But as the day approached, and Tommy, I don't know if I've ever really told you this, I had nothing. I literally, 15 minutes before I was supposed to speak, I didn't know what I was going to say. And I remember, and I had not really told Lydia yet that she was supposed to speak also. Remember, it was a couple of times. She was, so I was trying to figure out what to do, and so I decided, well, I'm just going to go to the Bible, I'll just read Scripture. So I went to Ephesians 1, and as I went through, I would comment in between the verses, and it went really well. It was about relationships, and I thought it went really well. And I had asked Lydia to come up with one point, and I kind of picked the things that I knew she would disagree with me on, and we started to sort of argue in front of everybody in a nice, polite way. But it, just about the differences sometimes between couples and everything. So I drew her in that way because. I'm not sure if that was God or the devil giving me that idea. But then Tommy, in my third year in Charlotte County with 3 churches, and I was about ready if there was some other place where I didn't have to travel to 3 churches every Sunday. I was a little worn out. Tommy calls and says he has a place he would like for me to come to church that needs a pastor. And then, I don't know, shortly before we would have been going there. I actually drove out there, Tommy. I looked at the church. I was all excited. Had a really nice house. It's going to be good for us. Be back, in civilization. And then Tommy calls me and says, Bob, I've got bad news. There's an elder. I was a licensed local pastor. There's an elder, and that's an elder's appointment, and he needs a church. He's stepping down from a conference position. And so you can't be there. None of this is in my sermon, so this is all precursor to the sermon. And I'm just thankful that we could get out of here before lunchtime. Well, I had to tell you this. So he called and told me, I said to him, I think he was a little concerned about what my reaction would be, but I said, Tommy, just give me 5 minutes. And so we hung up, I called him back, and I said, Tommy, it's okay. It's going to be okay. And the 4th year down there was my best year, and I ended up the next year going to a church that he invited me to be the associate pastor at. And I understand that ended up in a fist fight between Tommy and my district superintendent where I was at. They kind of disagreed about that whole thing. So I went to Aldersgate, which was renamed New Creation. And then it was Tommy who came here from the Portsmouth district to Harrisonburg district who asked if I could become here. So this is the guy who you are to blame. Tommy, it's good to meet you. I think you can go out quickly after. And they will be here this evening, but what a wonderful friend he has been all through my ministry, and so I did not know they would be here this morning. Also, I just want to recognize the cooks all the way in the back there. This is Jennifer Cook and her family, and of course Jennifer is our office administrator, so we welcome her this morning. We've tried since she first started, we've tried to get her to come to church. Ordinarily, she goes to a church of the brethren, and we forgive her for that. Well, I have figured out that there are 3 primary approaches to a last sermon as I have been thinking about this. Option 1, unleash all your frustrations in one long litany of complaints. Then yell like there's no tomorrow, and then when you are finished, run for the door. Yeah! Option 2, tell the people what you think they want to hear, whether it's true or not, and depart in peace, hearing compliments on your nice sermon. That's the kind of the throwing in the towel first. And then option 3, preach like you were sharing your inmost thoughts with friends, because in the end, that's who we are. That's who Jesus declares us to be. Friends. In the Gospel of John, Jesus, the Son of God, Lord of the universe, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end of all creation, just a few days from his crucifixion, in a farewell conversation with his disciples, makes perhaps the most incredible declaration in all the Bible. He doesn't call them together to form a committee to determine rules and procedures for the establishment of the church. He doesn't hand them a book of discipline to guide them after his death. He doesn't give them a marketing manual so that they can be successful without him. In John 15, Jesus says to Peter and James and John and all the gang of the disciples, greater love has no man than this, that he should lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not understand what his master is doing. But I have called you friends, because everything I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. The humility of Jesus in this passage is staggering. You and I are friends of the Lord of the universe. And we are friends of each other because we share the common cause of following him. Not just friends who went to school together or who share common interests, but friends who share the same spirit of Christ, the Christ who gave his life for us and declared us his friends. And that's quite a treasure, isn't it? Treasure. That our relationships with each other are not built on sand, or out of straw, or out of anything that can be washed away or worn away over time. Our relationships to each other are built on things eternal. The faith, the hope, the love that come through Jesus Christ alone. And because of this, we know that nothing in all creation can separate us from God's love in Christ Jesus, As long as we are faithful to Jesus, nothing can separate us from each other. Not distance, not retirement, not even death. This is the treasure that is hidden from the world, that can only be seen with eyes of faith. One of my favorite verses in all the Bible comes from the Christmas narrative in Luke chapter 2. Now, I know that some of you may be thinking that if Pastor Bob is sharing Christmas stories in June, then it's probably a good thing he's retired. But believe me, this verse belongs to every day of the year, not just the month of December. Now, the angels had sung peace on earth and goodwill toward men, and the startled shepherds had rushed off to Bethlehem to behold the babe in the manger. And then Luke says that, but Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. I love that one word beginning the verse, D-U-T. You see, that contrasts Mary's reaction to the reaction of everybody else. Everybody else was so shocked and excited and rushing around that they didn't take the time to ponder and consider the scope of what was going on. But Mary knew the value of holding on to this memory, to treat it as a treasure to be hidden in her heart, and to make sure that she opened the treasure chest from time to time and pondered what the events of Jesus' birth meant. As followers of Jesus, we need to treat every moment of life as a treasure to be hidden away in our hearts and pondered so that we might see the myriad ways God is at work in our world every day and every moment. Connecting people, as I talked about with Tommy and Carolyn, and Lydia and me. Connecting me with this church, which I've told you that I know I passed by this church numerous times as a child on our way to Tennessee, because we always took Route 11 before there was an I-81. And how usually this is about the point where I got car sick. But I won't go on and describe the rest of it. God is at work in our lives, in our world, every day, in every moment. If we treasure and ponder our memories and the blessings of each day, then the joy that passes understanding will be our everyday companion, and our faith will be firmly grounded in the reality of God's presence. I believe a lot of human misery could be eased and even erased if we truly appreciated the incalculable value of our memories. Mary understood that. She treasured not just some of them, all these things that happened around her and to her. How much happier would this world be if we all, like Mary, stopped and pondered the rich treasury of memories that we all possess? Memories of blessings undeserved and forgiveness unearned. Of angels in the night sky singing to the glory of God and streams of God's grace and mercy revealed in the dawn of a new day. Memories that bolster our faith when life has lost its luster and dark clouds are settling in, hiding our hope in God's grace. You know, like a lot of children, I spent much of my childhood dreaming of digging for buried treasure. Disney had come out with the movie Treasure Island, and then you had The Adventures of Mark Twain, that great old black and white movie that I could watch on Sunday afternoons. Those movies just strengthened my belief and my desire in buried treasure. Directly across the street from my boyhood home, high up on a hill, was the foundation of an old 18th century mansion, part of a large tract of land known as Lee, Sylvania, that once belonged to Robert E. Lee's grandfather, Henry. The house had burned down a century before, and all that remained was the cellar, with its ash cleanouts for the fireplaces. My friends and I fought many battles around the ruins of that cellar. We were unaware of the original purpose for ash cleanouts in the cellar walls, so we imagined them to be wall safes filled with Confederate gold hidden from the Yankees. No memories of that ruin and those supposed hiding places for treasure remain. My memories of that remain vivid. The fact that there was no material treasure and the holes were simply repositories for fireplaces, ash, did not diminish my boyhood fascination with this ancient cellar and its connection to people who had lived centuries before. Living where I did in the midst of history gave me a whole other world, a world of the past, to treasure in my heart. I was never bored as a child because I could see in my mind's eye the drama of history playing out all around me.